what's up guys? I'm over at Nate's again today doing a little bit of work on the car. I'm going to be pressing out the diff bushings, hopefully putting in the new solid diff bushings. I'm using a tool, it's from Powerhouse Racing. Induction Performance was nice enough to let me borrow theirs for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like removing the factory diff bushing. There's the diff bushing removal tool on the back, what it looks like. From this side you can see I've already started removing it. I'm probably about halfway, but the plate inside of there is probably 3/8 of an inch thick. And you just keep tightening these back and forth until it eventually just comes out. So there it is inside, just pressed out really easily. So here's the solid diff bushings installed into the subframe. It wasn't too difficult. The only part that was hard was trying to line it up. So we actually put the diff in and then kind of held these in place and kind of tapped it in a little bit with a hammer until we could get the bolt started. Then we took the diff back out, used the tool, and pressed them in. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how they came out. So Nate brought the 6-speed diff to work and cleaned it up for me. Took it apart, cleaned the inside, and he also was able to get these bushings out. These are the solid ones. It's one of them that's in there. Going to be running Mobile 1, 75/90 weight in it. I believe it's 1.5 quarts is what the diff takes. Alright, just a quick update on the Supra. Removed the valve covers and the upper intake manifold to have it powder coated. We also test fitted the turbo, and I tacked together a pipe that'll go up to the intercooler. So I'm gonna weld that up and send that off to get powder coated, and I'm possibly gonna ceramic coat the exhaust manifold as well. We went ahead and installed the ETS intercooler. That's all fitted up in there. One of the pipes for the intercooler is kind of just sitting there, so we could mock up for the pipe that comes off the turbo. Alright, so we've got the fuel pump out of the car, and as you can see here, this is the feed. This is, I believe, a vent, but there's no return. Because it's a 98 non-turbo, there's no return. That's why it's got this little funky setup on here. So I'm gonna get rid of all that, cut it off, drill a hole, weld in a return, which I'm gonna use a piece of the old charcoal canister piping. I'll weld in a return, and I'm gonna upgrade this pump to an AEM 340, which I bought from Real Street Performance. So I got the fuel pump off and the rest of the components to it. Came off pretty easily. There was just a little Phillips screw here, and then it just pulled out and disconnected this and just kind of pried up on it over there. But since it's got this compression fitting on here, I'm probably going to cut it here and add a piece of straight tubing welded on so that I could put the hose to it and then to the fuel pump that'll be sitting down here. So I'll have to do a little bit of modifying, but it's not a big deal. This will be a temporary setup until I go to do more power in E85, which at that point I'll just do probably like an aftermarket fuel hanger. But for now, this is what I'm going to do just to get the car running and work the bugs out of it. Alright, at this point I've got the hanger stripped down. I've got everything removed off the top. I drilled the hole for the return, and then I also cut that compression fitting off of there. So what I'll do is I'll weld this in as the return pipe. I'll weld this onto the end where the reducer was. This way it's a little longer, plus there's a lip on it. And then I've got the 340 fuel pump out. We'll have to wire that. But I just disassembled it, took everything off of the fuel hanger. This way nothing melts. So this will be kind of a pain to weld because this is in the way, but shouldn't be too overly challenging. Ooh. Come on. There we go. Alright, as you can see, I've got that little short piece welded on, and I've got the return ran down, up and around, And you can see I got it welded on there, so I'm going to go ahead and paint over this so it doesn't rust. Have the fuel pump assembly all put back together, soldered everything, heat shrinked it. I think it'll work well. We're going to put this in. Alright, so this is the upper radiator hose neck. There used to be 2 tubes coming out of here, so the factory twin turbos would circulate through here for cooling. But we no longer need those because we're going single turbo. So since this is cast, I'm going to go ahead and heat it up with a propane torch first to try and get the heat up. Some people stick cast in ovens and whatnot to get them up to temperature before they weld them. But in the past, this is always what I did just because it was quicker and more handy. And a lot of times I'd be welding stuff for people and, you know, just be like no access to an oven or the piece is too big. So the main thing you're trying to do is heat up the pockets of air that are trapped inside of the casting, because that's what ends up popping and cracking and ruining the cast piece when you're welding it. So you're just trying to get those heated up, because when you hit it with the welder, it's going to be so much heat so fast that the air inside expands and then it cracks the piece. So what you're trying to do is bring those pockets of air up to temperature slowly. This way, when you zap it, it's not just, you know, it's already heated up a bit. The type of filler rod we're going to be using is 40-43. It's good for welding cast because it's a little softer. You could use 53-56 if it's all that you have, but because it's a little bit harder, it's not really ideal for cast. So if you can, use 40-43. Alright, so essentially all you're going to do is just kind of go around in circles, and then once you get it filled in, you just keep going around and getting the hole smaller and smaller, and then once it's fully small, you hit the whole thing, pull back a little so it spreads out the weld and makes just one big round dot. Now those are nice and sealed up and looks a little better than a couple pieces of tubing sticking out of it. Alright, so here's a little bonus clip. Nathan and me were working on the differential trying to get the bushings out, and his hammer broke, but this hammer's special to him because he built it in shop class back when he was in high school, I think like 9th grade. So he's had it a long time, and although he shouldn't have been using this hammer because I'd bought him like a little mini sledgehammer, which is what he should have been using, but I feel bad that it broke while we were working on my car, so I'm going to go ahead and weld it up for him. But when you do something like this, once aluminum like this breaks, like say a rim or something, generally it'll keep cracking. So since this is a hammer and it's going to take a lot of force, I'm just going to tell him not really to use it anymore and just kind of, you know, stick it somewhere, because he's a pretty sentimental guy, so he could just hang on to it, let it sit in his garage or something, but at least this way it doesn't get thrown away. Another thing with heating stuff up first, like let's say you have a smaller welder and maybe it can only weld like 1/4 inch aluminum. If you heat it up first like this, you'll be surprised you'll be able to weld a lot thicker material. So you might be able to weld like 3/8. And so just a little tip if you've got a smaller TIG welder. I can already see him now like, oh, it's crooked. Alright, so now it's all welded up. Not perfect, but by doing that it makes it look a little bit better, less globby. This machine only goes up to I think like 185 amps, so this is pretty thick. So I mean, it'd be better to get some bigger welds. Probably should have used thinner rod, but it'll be fine. He can always grind it down if he wants, but at least I can give him his hammer back. But a little bit of a bonus clip for you guys, some extra welding. You can tell he's used this thing a lot though. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. If you guys don't mind, comment down below, hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.